What we're seeing really is Chelsea are kind of a football experiment. They're doing things in a completely different way from any other club in the Premier League.
It's a massive gamble that has huge rewards, but also pretty big risks as well.
Clever accounting tricks, squad building at an unprecedented level.
I do get exhausted because it's very difficult to keep track. It's just player after player after player.
No one seems to figure out whether Todd Boehly is a genius or a megalomaniac who's absolutely lost his mind and thinks you can just buy anything in sight and that will bring you success. Covering Chelsea is absolutely chaotic. It's never dull, you're never tired. There's always something going on at Cobham or at Stamford Bridge. I don't think anyone could have anticipated the way it's quite played out, obviously, after Roman Abramovich left, but there's still a lot of uncertainty, a lot of questions, a lot of wondering what the future does hold for Chelsea, what the plan is under Todd Boehly and co, and what it means for Chelsea on the pitch, but also off it.
So Chelsea's view has been now to get the best young players in the world, put them on long contracts, and develop them.
I feel like they're trying to make Chelsea into Brighton on steroids almost. They're identifying talent very young. Their mindset is that we get them young, we'll get them before the other big clubs do, and we're going to make them into stars ourselves.
They've sold hugely experienced players. They've sold Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, Mateo Kovacic. There's been a lot of these key figures who are now out of the club.
Spending $1 billion on transfers, it's a world record amount spent this summer. Chelsea have almost brought amortisation into the football lexicon.
Amortisation is the writing off of a transfer fee for a player over the number of years of a contract. So if you buy a player for 10 million over 10 years, you write off £1 million a year. So what Chelsea have done in the window is bring in players on longer contracts so that less of the transfer fee gets written off in the accounts each year, rather than spending big money on a player on a fairly short-term deal where there's actually pretty big write-offs and big financial fair play implications.
What we're seeing really is Chelsea are kind of a football experiment. They're doing things in a completely different way from any other club in the Premier League. Investing so much money on transfers in the initial phases that you don't have to spend in future seasons, so I don't think they're going to carry on doing this. They're hoping that now they've got Enzo Fernandez, now they've got Moises Caicedo, they don't have to touch the midfield again, so that's why they're spending quite this much.
No one seems to figure out whether Todd Boehly is a genius or a megalomaniac who's absolutely lost his mind and thinks you can just buy anything in sight and that will bring you success. He's a hugely successful businessman. He has a track record with the LA Dodgers of bringing them success, so I think there is a hope that that will transfer over to the Premier League.
I think he's learning on the job. I think from when he first came in, it was like a kid in the candy store. You know, there was a lot of movement with the staff and a big overhaul of the hierarchy, and he was going to Barcelona doing deals as sporting director. I think his intentions are in the right place in terms of he wants to, you know, build the club up, new stadium potentially. You know, he wants to clearly spend as well.
Yes, they can spend what they want, but there are systems in play in football to limit teams, even if they feel like they have unlimited budgets, to slow down. So Chelsea could face that 2 years out of the Champions League, 2 years out of Europe. Would be a bit of a disaster in terms of building for the future.
I think Chelsea have to be in the Champions League for sure. Extra revenue, extra TV money, that money's got to be coming in.
They're certainly risking a lot by the strategy that they're partaking in to sign up all these players to super long contracts. But the hope is if they don't manage to prove it at Chelsea, they will go to another club of a similar ilk or just below, and they'll be able to get them off their books.
I do think it's a risk in terms of if they're not top young players, Enzo Fernandez caliber, if they're kind of a few tiers below that and they do require a lot of development, that puts a lot of pressure on you to develop them.
That's all they are, it's potential. It's not proven, and they've been left with the youngest squad in the Premier League. They've got Raheem Sterling and Thiago Silva. If it wasn't for those two, we'd be talking about 19 being the average age. It's 22.5 at the moment. This is a club who has only known success for many, many years, and the fans will get itchy feet if they feel like this strategy is not leading to any kind of success. They haven't won the Premier League since 2016-17. It's been a long, long time since this club has tasted real success in the top flight.
I fear slightly Chelsea fans are entitled. They feel like they're entitled to that every year. Entitled to get to the final stage of the Champions League, win Premier League. Chelsea is probably one of the craziest clubs to do a project like this on, because we have a fan base and a culture that is based off of 1 to 2 year quick style roller coaster projects. And what this club's trying to do is bring in a project that is very much long term.
We do kind of understand, I think, that we need to go in a direction of long-term sustainability and building a team that's there to dominate. But at the same time, of course, we can't be sitting where we were last season, which is in 12th. That's kind of the middle ground where we've got to be competing, we've got to be looking like we're making progression. But at the same time, you still have to do things right now as well to keep people on board.
think the problem with Chelsea's strategy is you kind of need a time machine to really see if it's going to work or not. We're looking at it right now and we're a bit underwhelmed, but they are a very young squad, and could all these guys become some of the best players in the world? That's what Chelsea are banking on.
My hunch is that it will work, but whether it will work without them having to be flexible and pragmatic and maybe bring in some more experience, maybe have to go through some coaches, that remains to be seen.
The way the owners will be thinking, I think, is the revenues are going to go up in the Premier League from the TV money. I think they're thinking Chelsea will be in a new stadium, earning more money as well there.
We know about this new multi-club model which Chelsea and the new owners are potentially trying to pursue. Strasbourg in France added to their portfolio, rumours of clubs in Portugal joining that strategy now. I think they certainly will have an eye on kind of strategy in terms of how they maximise their global impact.
They'll have this very modern approach to football where they're building it on young players, multi-club, new stadium, everything will be brand new. I think that's where football is going anyway, and Chelsea want to ride that wave. They want to be the pioneers of that wave as well, taking it to the next level.
The best cases, I think, we look at Manchester City are now. Winning Premier Leagues regularly, if not every year, getting good cup runs, winning in Europe.
They're expecting this to be a serious contender to Man City now. Stood here today in 2023, it doesn't feel like that, but maybe in 2033 we'll be speaking a bit differently about Chelsea and these owners.